So today on the Reflection Room, we're joined by Jessica Spackman, a registered dietitian and yoga teacher whose own journey through anxiety, depression, and food intolerances inspired her path toward holistic healing through mindfulness, intuitive nutrition, and a health at every size philosophy. She helps people rebuild a positive relationship with food, their bodies, and themselves. In this conversation, we'll explore her insights on healing, connection, and finding balance in mind, body, and spirit. How are you, Jessica?
Hey, I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, we're so happy to
Yeah.
have you. I was definitely looking forward to this conversation for sure. So thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
have this one question that I was thinking about, and I know Hannah and I are always chatting a little bit about like the ways that lately we've been realizing. I think a lot of industries are realizing that mental health and physical health and then also spiritual health and all these different areas. Like, I think we're beginning to realize like we can't isolate, kind of exist in a vacuum. We're really
Mhm.
needing to kind of like realize the connections there. And that's the best way for us to really be able to help our clients and patients. And so I guess I just kind of wanted to open up with this question. What led you to really realize the connection between mental health challenges and nutrition? And then how has this kind of shaped your as a dietitian and a yoga teacher for you personally?
Yeah. So my first realization with that started when I went through my own health journey when I was 16, 17. And it's more than just mental health and nutrition, like you were saying. It's this realization of this holistic um perspective to health and wellness. So the first started with my own journey when I was experiencing chronic inflammation in my body, which mentally led to having a lot of brain fog. And then later, once I started my dietitian career, I started realizing this really big connection with people and their relationship with food and diet culture, and how that started to impact the way that they talk to themselves about food, which when I talk to people about nutrition, it's not just what are we feeding our body, it's what are we feeding our mind. And so if we're saying, oh, I can't eat this, or this makes me gain weight, those thoughts are perpetuating an unhealthy mental talk to the self and to the body. So I started realizing that really when I was working in psychiatric hospitals, when I first became a dietitian, I was working with teens and adolescents. I saw a lot of eating disorders. And then I also saw a lot of nutrition deficiencies, like low vitamin D, and how that actually made anxiety and depression worse.
Mm,
Wow,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and the experience in a psychiatric facility too, I'm sure you got so much of both worlds put together with that. Yeah.
Yeah, you just reminded me actually. I did have this was years ago. I had a situation, a client, a case where we were racking our brains trying to figure out what was going on. She was experiencing dips in mood, and everything in her life, like circumstantially, seemed to be good. They weren't perfect, but they were fine. It was just kind of like typical life.
Mhm.
And we could not figure out really what was going on. There was really no history of depression or any major like mood disorders in her family's history. So she did some blood work and some lab testing, and her vitamin D levels were like super low, very low. And so it was like one of those things where she had been struggling for so
Mhm.
long, and it was, I wouldn't say necessarily a quick fix, but it took a little bit of time. But yeah, it was something that was easily fixable. And so it's so interesting that you were just mentioning something like that. You're right.
Mhm.
Interesting.
There's so much to it, especially with the psychiatric medications too. They are helpful. They deplete. I don't want to say deplete, but they use a lot of our vitamins. And so if you're on a psychiatric medication, you're not supplementing with your B vitamins or testing to see if your body can even process B vitamins, because there's like a third of the population that for them to process B vitamins, they don't do it the way that most other people do. And so then we have this nutrition deficiency and these medications that are requiring so much of these vitamins. And so it's a cycle that can impact the mental health to an even more intense level than what it would be at
Wow.
baseline.
I did not know that. That's
Mhm.
very good to know, and I feel like that should be more well known about the
Mhm.
deficiencies.
Yeah, it's not, and a lot of doctors don't test for the deficiencies. They don't test for that genetic mutation, and so when my clients come to me, I say, "Okay, well, let's get all this testing done," which isn't a lot. It's not hard. It's just a simple blood test, and then it comes back with answers, and then we start seeing a little bit more improvement with the mental component.
Yeah, I
Mm.
was, I've mentioned this before. Hannah probably has, heard it in a different episode, but I worked with a nutritionist. It was actually just a great, a wonderful experience. But I laugh about it now, but at the time, I thought I was doing such a great thing. I was on some medication for stuff, but and then I was on so many supplements. And she was like, "Oh, so what are you taking?" And I told her I was even subscribed to this one. I won't say the name, but this one company. And so I thought I was doing such a great thing. Like I had all these supplements being sent to my home every month and she was like, that's a lot, Natalie. And she goes, the idea is that ideally you would be getting a lot of these nutrients and stuff from the food, which I'm assuming is probably something that you would agree with. So she's like, so she did the same thing. Yeah, I was like, let's do some blood work. Let's see where you're deficient at. And then the best way ideally would be to get some of the stuff from the food. And then if we're unable to for whatever reason, and then you would begin to kind of supplement in other ways. So it's just a lot of the stuff that we really don't really know unless we're working with someone that, obviously is trained in that area.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, this time we're gonna do kind of like a speed round, rapid fire questions. I'm really excited about these and hear what you would answer to these. So we're gonna start out with some this or that. So I'm gonna ask two things. You tell me what you would recommend. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Let's go.
Okay. Intuitive eating versus meal planning.
Okay. I would say ideally intuitive eating, unless we need to start off with meal planning. Like if someone has an eating disorder, sometimes we have to start off with meal planning and then we work towards intuitive eating.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Morning smoothie or solid breakfast?
Solid breakfast.
Like some substance.
Mm-hmm.
Cooking at home or mindful restaurant dining?
I'm a foodie, so I love going out to eat. But so I would say whatever fuels your soul more with
Oh,
that one.
I
I
like
like that.
that. Yeah. Gentle nutrition or strict food rules?
Definitely gentle nutrition.
Group therapy or individual counseling?
Honestly, I like both.
Mm,
It's fair. Yeah.
I like both.
Yeah. I feel like, especially with eating disorders, it would be helpful to have both.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yoga before or after meals?
I would say before because after meals, you wouldn't want to do it right after meals. You want to give it at least like an hour, maybe 45
Okay.
minutes. Yeah. Kind of like swimming right after meals.
Mhm.
Smart. And then the last one, recovery focused or weight neutral approach?
I feel like weight neutral. Yeah, because
Mhm.
I feel like when you're recovery focused, you can become weight neutral, but sometimes it just depends on the person.
Yeah. Those
How's
were
it
Yeah.
some of those were pretty tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
You did a good job. Okay, so I was wondering, out of any of those this or that questions, was there anything that you felt like needed additional explanations or anything you do want to talk about?
Let's see. Let's talk about like the intuitive eating and the meal planning. Right, we kind of talked about
Mhm.
that. Intuitive eating definitely is like when we're listening to our bodies to honor like when we're hungry. Um
Mhm.
and to eat when we're hungry, eat kind of what we're craving, and stop when we're full. But a lot of people, like when I tell them this, they're like, I have no idea how to do that. And following like a strict diet plan is definitely not going to be helpful. So sometimes we have to start off with like a gentle meal plan, which typically consists of like, okay, let's have 3 meals a day and a couple snacks. And like that's kind of where I leave it versus like a very strict meal plan.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Mhm. It
Yeah. So
does.
they kind
Yeah.
of learn their hunger signals in between meals. Like if they need a snack or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's training the body's metabolism.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Are there certain utilizing intuitive eating? Are there any tips you can think of that would kind of help someone maybe like keep track of that? I don't know. I'm thinking of with counseling, there are certain things we do to kind of increase self-awareness when it comes to certain things. So I'm wondering in your realm or world, is it similar? Like there's some things you like will suggest or practice in order to kind of increase self-awareness? Because I know for me, I'll open up a bag of right now it's like white cheddar popcorn. That's my thing. And I'll just eat it, even though, like, if you were to ask me, like, "Are you hungry?" I'm like, "Oh, it wasn't even a thought." Like, I don't know. I just ate it because it was there. So, are there some things that you do to, like, increase self-awareness with that?
Yeah, there's a few. The first is listening, is trying to bring awareness to if your body's feeling hungry or full. And I use like a scale. Their doctors have like a pain scale, right? So in the dietitian
Mm,
world, we have like a hunger and fullness scale, like from 1 to 10. And so I have people start just to bring out their awareness because it's all about practicing listening to the body and never
mm,
judging it. Use things like that. A lot of nutrition counseling is involved just like in therapy. Like a lot of people will tell me, I feel like I'm in therapy but we talk about food and that's the stuff that we do is we talk about the awareness of that relationship with food, the emotional connection, the body's physical ability to tell you if you're hungry or full.
I like
yeah,
that.
I like that.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
assigning a number to it or something like that makes it a little bit more tangible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really great. That's awesome. I'm trying to see if there's any others there that, like, we might have questions for. I think those are really good. I laughed with the morning smoothie and the solid breakfast because
I was thinking that too.
it's so
Yeah.
much easier with the morning smoothie than a solid breakfast, but I think
It
it makes sense.
is. It is, and I do wanna talk about this because a lot of people, like, when they wake up, they're like, "I'm not hungry right away." To me, it's like, obviously, like, you're not hungry. We just spent probably 10 hours without any hydration. The last thing your body wants right now is food. It wants fluid and needs hydrated. So and I don't know if you guys have experienced this with yourself, but if you drink few cups of water, typically your hunger cues are gonna start to turn on in a little bit, like maybe within like an hour of waking.
Interesting.
Right?
That's interesting. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think maybe the problem for me is that I don't drink water in the morning.
Yeah.
Right.
I go straight to coffee.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, so maybe that's where I'm going wrong, but that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have heard that, like, drinking water right when you wake up or a certain amount of water is supposed to just help your metabolism throughout the day, but I didn't realize it would make you hungry too.
Well, I think it's getting everything, like, started, right? So, like, your body is it needs hydration. So, like, a smoothie, so hydrating, right? So that
Right.
can be really great if you're, like, running out the house, you just grab a smoothie, and it already has your liquid in there. But then later in the morning, you're going to need something a little bit more fulfilling. So, like, maybe bring, like, your protein or your eggs for your morning snack.
Okay.
You're right. You're right. It's not very satisfying. You do get hungry, right, a little bit after. You're right about that. Yeah. That was good. That was
Yeah.
very helpful. Yeah. Okay. Are you ready for the next section? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one, we're titling it Rapid Fire Fill in the Blanks. So, okay. So the first one is the biggest nutrition myth I hear is
You need to eat less calories to lose weight. Mhm.
yes.
So yeah, a lot of people think I need to lose weight, I need to eat less calories. And what that does is it puts so much stress on your body that I know people who will eat a substantially less amount of calories and they'll still be gaining weight. And it's because their body is in this state of survival. And it causes like higher cortisol levels. It causes their body to slow down and their metabolism to slow down. It's not so black and white, that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Mhm.
that because I feel like that's a huge thing in diet culture is women should eat 1,200 calories no matter like what your health is like. And I feel like that's just so harmful.
Yeah, you need more than that.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. All right. When someone binges, the first thing I tell them is,
To continue with eating their next meal.
hmm, okay. What's the thought behind that? Like the thought process behind that one?
Yeah, so a lot of people, binging can happen for a few reasons, but the most common is because we're not getting enough during the day. So when someone binges, oftentimes they want to restrict for most of the next day, and that's just going to lead to another binge.
Ah, that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense, and then I'm thinking too, like, in our world, it's I can kind of translate that in some ways with some things, but, sometimes people feel like they've messed up or taken a few steps back, and our thought is not allowing that to, like, stop you in, like, the healing process in any way, like, just seeing that as, like, one kind of, I don't know, some kind of misstep and then continuing in the journey or in the process and not letting that like dictate like what your next few steps are gonna look like. And so it sounds like it's similar in some ways.
So yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So the third one. For picky teens, my go-to strategy is
Have them pick out what they want to try.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that way you're not like forcing them to try anything they wouldn't be interested in.
You can't, especially teenagers, you can't force them to do anything. Like they're pretty much an adult at that.
Yeah.
Like mentally, they're at a point where they're like, I'm independent. I can make my own decisions. So I have to give them the power to choose how they want to improve their nutrition and variety.
Mhm.
That I would say that we also do it very similarly with teens too. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
we at least when I used to work with teens, I would give them the responsibility of scheduling their appointments, and then if they had to cancel
Mhm.
it, they had to do it. So it's giving them that responsibility and putting them in like the driver's seat behind their therapy.
I
So it's
like
kind of like adding a little bit for them. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. And when you feel like when you feel like you're a part of the process in some capacity, you're more invested in it, and so
Mhm.
I could see that maybe being like that's similar in that sense too for them. If they feel like, oh, I'm choosing some of the things that I'm eating, like they might be a little bit more invested in the process of the nutrition
Yeah.
process. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The food rule I want everyone to break is,
Carbs are bad. That rule. That's not true at all.
ah,
I love that. I love carbs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are they good?
So it is so funny. I work with so many different clients, and a lot of them have like degrees in biology, various levels. And we talk about our bodies mostly run off of glucose. Like over
Oh,
half of what we need for to make energy for all of our cells to work is glucose, not protein, not fat. And so
interesting.
when people say that carbs are bad, they're eating enough carbs.
Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
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 That is my takeaway from today's episode.
Yeah, mine
Oh my
too.
gosh. But yeah, but I'm sure all in reason. I'm sure. Yeah. Okay, my favorite plant-based protein source is
Legumes.
legume.
Legumes are like beans and lentils. That's
Okay.
technically a legume, but yeah, beans and lentils and split
Mm.
peas.
Hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, why is that your favorite?
They have a lot of fiber in them,
Mm.
but mostly I just think they taste good. Like the way that you
Mhm.
can make them, you can make like bean burgers, you can do like a lot of ethnic foods. Like Ethiopian
Mhm.
food, Indian food uses a lot of those.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow, and I'm sure with you traveling too, you get to try all different kinds of stuff.
I do. I'm in Central America, so like pupusas, like they have a lot of beans in them.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I didn't think about that. You're right, Hannah. Like as you're traveling, you get to probably that yeah, that probably mixes things up for you. Like when you're thinking about nutrition and looking at it through a different lens as you're like visiting these different cultures and countries and stuff.
Yeah, they're different. I think Florida has a lot of like Latino culture just
Mhm.
naturally. So some of the foods are similar, but like pupusas we don't really see that often.
Mhm.
But like tacos and tortillas, we get a lot
Mhm.
of.
Yeah. So, out of curiosity, as you're traveling, do you incorporate some of these like foods that you come across like into your own like meal plans with your clients?
I will use the inspiration for recipes. So I did a stay in Honduras in the Caribbean, and I was working at a resort helping them with their retreat menu and was using a lot of like the local ethnic foods to like inspire the menu. So that it's more like Caribbean, Honduran, and it's like an island too. So you get kind of like the curry flavors, like the Caribbean curry in there.
Oh,
So, like, I'll use that as inspiration for recipe ideas that I'll give to my clients if they're interested in that.
Yeah.
that's so cool. I feel like that's not, you couldn't just get that with anybody. That's a
Oh,
Yeah.
very unique experience you could provide.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool. All right. So the last one, the last rapid fire question or fill in the blank is when clients fear food, I help them by.
By viewing food as neutral. So a lot of times people have this like good or bad mentality around food, which can end up making them overthink food. And the reality is like a cookie's not bad for you, right? If now we're eating like a whole package of like Oreo cookies every single day, it's not great. But if we were eating like only fruit every single day, that wouldn't be great either. Right. So it's kind of like using that these foods are more neutral. And really what we eat, our diet of what we eat needs to be more balanced.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I like
That's
that.
great.
So we do a lot of work of like the gray area. So a lot of
Mm.
people have this like black white mentality around not just food but life. So it's really being comfortable in this gray area of like you can still enjoy making cookies and brownies and having birthday cake.
Yeah, because those are life experiences. Like, you don't want to miss out on celebrating something because you can't eat cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, this last section are quick hits. So the first question is, what's one thing every parent should know about teens nutrition?
That's a good one. I would say teens, especially in our American culture, this day and age, a lot of teens' nutrition is being influenced by diet culture and by social media. And that's the thing that I think parents should be the most aware of because they can think that their teen is like eating healthy or learning about nutrition, and in reality they could be developing like a really intense eating disorder. So I think for parents to just be aware that that's like really common, especially today, and just keep an eye out on it and to not put your teen on a diet program or on Weight Watchers either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good one. What is the biggest red flag in someone's relationship with food?
Biggest red flag. When it takes away from their social living. That would be the
Oh,
biggest red flag, I think. Like if you're if you're listening to this and you're questioning like how is my relationship with food? And someone invites you out to dinner and you're getting nervous about it or you feel like you can't go to a party because of the food there, that would be like a pretty big red flag of like, okay, I really need to see a dietitian.
that's a good one. I like that a lot, especially for us as counselors. Like if we see that in one of our clients, we could be like, okay, we
Yes.
need to
I,
get you
I, I
in.
was having a similar thought.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll be sending you
Yeah.
some referrals later. Best advice for someone just starting intuitive eating.
Okay. Intuitive eating is a practice. It takes time. So I think that's the advice is to be really gentle with yourself and know that just be like there's no doing it right. Right. That would be like good or black or white mentality, good or bad mentality, and just be gentle and be okay with like the gray of learning how to listen to your body and learning how to ask your body what it wants.
Yeah. And you also, yeah, I saw that you work with a lot with food allergies and you've had your experience with that too. How do you handle food allergies and eating disorder recovery?
Yeah. So that's a tough one, right? Um, a lot of eating disorders will say, "Oh, I'm allergic to this," when really they're not. So that's one where we really have to go back to like, okay, how did your body do um, before the eating disorder? Like, do you remember what it was like? And it can be really hard to determine if there's more of an intolerance. Like allergies are pretty easy because if you're allergic, you have hives, like it's an intense reaction. But like an intolerance, is like bloating and discomfort. And in every eating disorder case, they're going to have bloating and discomfort. So
Mhm.
a lot of times the intolerance, like figuring out if they have one, doesn't really come until like after, or unless someone's like, I really, really think that I'm gluten intolerant, then it's like, okay, maybe we can avoid that. But for the most part, we try not to limit the diet in those people and in that population.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
Mhm.
Why do you combine somatic work with nutrition?
Yeah. So I do that because everything's connected. Everything's connected. There's so many different layers. So if we're talking about somatic work with eating disorders, that's really important because a lot of times using like certain breathing techniques can help people when they feel nauseous. And if someone has an eating disorder, they're going to feel nauseous, they're going to feel anxious about eating. And so I use those skills to help them just like sit with the discomfort a little bit better. I Yeah, I use a lot with like my ARFID clients.
Your what type of clients?
ARFID, so those are the ones that don't have a body image problem and they're more just really sensitive to texture. They don't have an appetite.
Oh, okay.
So I use it a lot with,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because the texture might cause the nauseous feeling.
Yeah. And then with my non-eating disorder clients, a lot of people come to me and they have like unknown gut issues that like
Mhm.
doctors don't have answers for. Like that's like my story is I had chronic inflammation in my gut and there was no answer for it. There was no test. And people who have like IBS, a lot of it is a psychosomatic response. So
Mhm.
whenever I incorporate the somatic work, it's also helping them regulate their nervous system in order to help with that stuff going on as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love
Interesting.
that.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Sorry. So with that kind of stuff, usually you would hear, like I've heard people talk about like elimination diets for like that kind of issue. Is that what you would do, or it just kind of depends on the individual person's kind of, I guess, experiences or struggles?
Yeah, so the elimination diet, they typically don't do a strict one. I kind of just like guess. I like ask them a bunch of questions and I'll have them like, write their food and their symptoms and we'll kind of guess because there's typically a couple of main ones that people are intolerant to. And so then we'll start like taking those out. So like gluten, another really big one is like soy oil or like even some of the highly processed seed oils too. Those ones, sometimes dairy as well.
Hmm.
But like those are
Mhm.
the three like main ones that I see. And so those would be the ones that we would take out of the diet for a few weeks.
Just to
Okay.
see how like their body responds and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
see if it
interesting.
goes down.
Wow. Well, this is the last question. One yoga pose that helps with digestion.
Yeah. Okay, that's gonna be I'm blanking on the Sanskrit for it, but the yoga pose is when you're squatting.
Oh, like,
Like you take your
okay.
toes out and then you come into a squat, like a deep squat. That one.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
here's
hard
the
to do.
question. That is hard to do, but is that also related to like the squatty potty? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Okay.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yes, it does. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder like what the I I wonder like the physical like aspect behind that like all is too, because this is so random. It's gonna be very random, but like they say also like isn't that like the natural position too for like childbirth and like things like that or something along those lines, I think.
Probably, because I think you hear I don't know, but I think you hear all the time you're not supposed to be on your back, and it's like
Yeah.
more it would
Yes.
make more sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I wonder, like, what the physical components are that, like, lead that to be, like, the most natural position or something like that. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just like how our body's anatomy is, it like lines up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Huh. Yeah, but that is a hard one to master for it.
Yeah. A lot of stretching.
Yes, yes. Oh, that was very insightful, very interesting. Is there anything
Yeah.
that you can think of that that you would as we were kind of asking you some of these questions that you thought, "Oh, this is either good to maybe share or disclose," or I know we're also talking about, I mean, we're laughing about some of these parts, but some of this stuff is, I recognize also, very serious in some cases with I'm sure some of your clients and stuff. So anything that you'd like to share or talk about, in case anyone in particular is maybe listening and battling or struggling with some of these things that we've talked about?
Yeah. So I would say, so I work with two different populations, eating disorders, and then more people who have like maybe just not a great relationship with food or are struggling with like chronic inflammation. And I want to talk more about that part because a lot of people, like in the States especially, really struggle with their health and wellness. I think a lot of everyone probably does at some point. And it's not just mental, but it's also physical, and they're all connected. And so a lot of it, I could talk for hours about this, but a lot of it has to do with lifestyle and the way that we are living. And when we're in like such a fast-paced environment all the time and high stress, and then you add on like the diet culture of like even more high stress, it really perpetuates this cycle of being stuck in a high stress, chronically inflamed situation. And the solution to that is really trying to connect back to the body and listen to what the body is saying, as well as spending time just for yourself every day. Like if you can do an hour a day, like 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, where you just like sit with yourself and really regulate your nervous system, you're able to start connecting back to your wellness and your well-being. And then, the rest will really fall into place because you'll be able to listen and get some answers from what your body's like telling you. Like disease in itself, like is not like your body isn't fighting against you. It's communicating to you. It's telling you, hey,
Mm.
this is what's going on. You just have to be able to listen to it and find the right person, like professional doctor, dietitian, therapist to help guide you because it's hard to do it all on your own. Like I didn't. When I went through my healing journey, I had like some professionals who did help me. And so I would say if anyone's struggling to just really give themselves some grace and know that there is solutions out there.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
especially with our culture is incredibly fast-paced. So the thought
Mhm.
of sitting down and just listening to your body for 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night, that's probably hasn't crossed many people's minds because they just
No.
get up and go. Like, yeah, so I could see how that could change so much in someone's life.
Yeah. Especially with
Mhm.
gut stuff going on. If you're struggling with IBS. The physical manifestation of disease is your body just communicating to you what it needs.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I'm actually doing a health and wellness retreat next July. So it's a bit away from now, but it's to help people go beyond the traditional like medical system and actually like connect back to their body, digest life, learn about nutrition, yoga, mindfulness, all that.
Oh,
Oh,
I
okay.
love
So
that.
July 2026. Where is it?
El Salvador.
Oh my
So it's
goodness.
international.
You'll have to send us the information. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
send it to you. It's gonna be really cool.
Very
Yeah, that's
awesome. That's exciting.
incredible.
Mhm.
Mhm. That's very exciting. And you're right about that piece. I love that idea of just like sitting there for a little bit, like in the morning or even in the evening. Because as I was thinking, there've been a few times just over the course of my life where things have happened and I've gone to see a certain provider and they've asked, how long has this been happening? And I really don't know.
Mm.
I'll let them know how long I've like I iced it for. But as I'm sitting here listening to you and reflecting, there have been times where I answer them how long I've realized it, but in reality, it could have been going on way longer than I actually became aware of it. So I love that suggestion because you're right. We're just busy on the go and, there could be so many things that are happening with our bodies. And the reality is like, a lot of times with this stuff, including mental health too, you know, if we catch it early on, a lot of
Mhm.
times the solution or the process can be a whole lot easier to walk through than if we allow it to kind of pile up. And then not that it's impossible, but sometimes it's a little bit more challenging to kind of arrive at a place of healing or a transformation, get on the other side of that. So I love that suggestion. Yeah, that was really great.
Mhm.
Yeah. Little by little. And yeah, I always tell people like healing doesn't mean you're broken. When we do the healing work, we're just getting to know ourselves better. That's all it is.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, thank you so much. If anybody's really interested in learning a little bit more about you, including that retreat that's coming in July of 2026, where can they find you?
So I'd say Instagram is the best. It's Jessica Taylor Dietitian. Dietitian spelled with T's, no C, on
Oh,
Instagram, or they can reach out to my email, which would be jessica at mindfulnutritionrdn.com.
Perfect.
awesome. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And like, we're going to put all that information. We'll make sure to add that at the bottom of this episode. And yeah, thank you for taking time out while you're in Costa Rica to meet with us.
Thank you so much for
uh,
having me.
yes.
It's been a
Of
pleasure.
course. Yes,
Yeah.
we really have enjoyed this. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode. As always, if you guys have any questions or yeah, have any comments, feel free to add them at the bottom here of this episode. And as Jessica mentioned, if you guys want to follow up with her and have any specific questions, feel free to DM her or email her. And we look forward to seeing you guys at the next episode. And as always, we will keep reflecting and we're asking you guys to do the same.